And like that, it's finished. Boom. That was done. All right, so yeah, we've got a lot going on with this FRUNK setup. So what I'm gonna start with is two things. The tank is actually gonna be level with right here. So I'm gonna have it level all the way across. So at this angle, that's gonna have a board that holds the whole tank up. Now that board's gotta be really strong because that tank is 40 something pounds, right? So gotta be strong there. And then I needed to make another floor section down here that you're gonna see under it. So it's gonna be a 2-tier. Bottom tier for the compressors, top tier for the tank. So I'm gonna have to use this wood or another piece of something as a spacer in between here. It'll get screwed onto here and then that'll all get mounted down. But I've got acrylic for this piece and I have to cut it out to fit this whole section. So gotta make the bottom one and then make the top one or vice versa. It doesn't really matter which order I go in there. But yeah, so I got to make that structurally found. I'm going to pull this probably out so I can see it and use it better and get to all angles of it. Yeah, we're going to have bulkheads are going to be going through here. So this piece is removable, so the entire tank will be able, or the entire FRUNK will be able to be removed at one piece. Going to have some bulkhead fittings going back through here, and I've already tested all that out. The big fuse blocks I showed you is going to be mounted back here underneath this whole thing so it doesn't get any moisture or rain and all that type of stuff, car wash, all that. We're going to fabric line everything inside here. That's going to be kind of cool, I think. I am going to try and wrap this. So we're going to try and wrap this in the forged carbon fiber vinyl. I tested it out and it does seem to work pretty decently. I just don't know long term. So we'll see. It's something that can be always removed easily and not mess anything up, but I'd rather do it first or before the whole FRUNK is put in than later. That would be something. So we're gonna try that out, and it will have some texture to it. So the right way I think would be done like we did with Mr. Pink's, and sand it all down, prime it, and then wrap it. But the plastic is flexible and you have to use the right amount of flexibility in your primer, flexible additive, and a lot of people don't, and that happens to Mr. Pink. So his has got some issues with it because our paint primer guy didn't do the right thing. That happens a lot with paint people. People are lazy or dumb, mostly lazy. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start with the top piece. And so I've already cut my bracing. What I'm gonna do is here. So this is ABS plastic. I buy in different pieces, remnants. Damn the compressor. I'm gonna mount this back here, like that, bolt it to the wall. So it's nice and sturdy. I'm gonna have to shave this down so it's at the right angle, but that's gonna be mounted back there. And then I've got this acrylic piece because I want it to be able to not block any light. This is a piece of acrylic I buy. Industrial Plastic Supply in Anaheim is awesome. These are remnants usually, but this is gonna go right here, braced across. So I have to trim it down to fit. It'll be bolted on both sides, and then the top board I can make to mount on top of that, there and in the back. So I think that should be strong enough. I sure hope so. But it's gonna be screwed in on both sides, all the way through the tub, and then bolted in the back. I might make just a brace, block upwards as well, just to give it some more added rigidity to the center of it, even though the center is not going to have any weight. The tank is going to be mounting weight out here. Still, we'll see. We'll see what I do. Okay, so update. Not much has happened. I've been working, but it doesn't look like much anyways. So what we got going on here is I made the piece underneath here that I was talking about. So I drilled it, tapped it. It is now mounted into here. This thing you could put at least 100 pounds, if not my whole body weight on there, which is more than 100 pounds. And then I put this board on there flat, and I used some vice grips and vice gripped it to it. And then got my other piece of acrylic back here, and I started angling it until it sat flush against here and was flush against this. And once I got it angled, I drilled and tapped this into there, which is just temporary, and then pushed it up against there and drilled 4 bolts. So you can see once I remove this, let's see. So I've got big, large flat washers in the back because it is plastic. And I wanted to pull it tight against it. Locking nuts. So always use a nylon locking nut or some type of locking nut. It's not that much difference in price, and it saves you. There's no reason that anything should be stripping out or slipping out, or over time vibrations might loosen it. No reason to. Just buy the damn lock nut. Okay, people? Cheap asses. All right, so that is on there tight. I'm gonna get rid of this so you can see what it looks like now. I'm using like a claw here to put it on a tripod, so sorry people. Okay, so this is temporary, this piece is, but at least I'm gonna use these 2 bolts plus probably at least another 4 to 6 more to mount with this piece, the top board, the top acrylic piece. But we'll see that. All right, so we've got levels here. So just using cardboard paper that I purchased and some Sharpie and tape. And I've got my template for the top and my template for the bottom. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do on the top yet. I like this curve. I might go a little bit farther in. I only have that much difference between the edge here and that brace, and I don't want to see that brace. Really don't want to. Now, of course, the frunk will never be this high. It would be way lower, so you really should never be able to see it. But so I can just barely see the corner over here. But I might want to curve it back farther and then maybe come back out to give it some more design to it, because these will be right about in this position. So, not really sure yet. So what I'm gonna do is cut it as a square. So I'll just cut it straight across and leave that excess up there, and then cut around it how I see fit once this bottom piece is in. So now it's ready to trace these onto acrylic and cut them bitches out. Oh, hey there. Hi there. Ho there. All right, so about the last hour or so, too long, I rough cut both pieces of acrylic. So you can see one piece is 1/2 inch. I rough cut it, so you can see the nasty cuts here. You can see the black line, and that is for the top. The bottom one, though, is done. Donezo. So the bottom one is done and in there. So I just have to drill it out, but you can see how tightly I have it fit in there. Really almost no freaking gaps in there at all. And this is all hand cut, hand ground down, hand done, and it is nice and flush. It's cut around the acrylic block back there, and then once the top piece is on, you shouldn't be able to even see any of that anyways. But my trick to this. Can you see that? It is beveling it. Bevel. You don't have a straight cut. It is not a 90-degree cut. So this is a 90-degree cut. The backside. The rest of that is not. Hey, look at that. Now you can see it. Yeah, so this is the point that you're gonna see, and this is the point you will not see. If this is, you can keep getting that nice and tight and just bevel the rest of it. It doesn't need to be tight up against it. And especially for pieces like this that have a curve, so it's gonna curve downwards or curve inwards or whatever. So you only want that edge to be close. You don't need the whole thing to be close. So I bevel just about everything. So you can get it nice and really, really tight, and you only need you know, a couple millimeters that need to be tightened. So that's my trick. And then it get cut out by hand with a cutoff wheel, and then ground down, and then DA in 80, and then DA with 180. And now it's ready for backlighting. So this is where we're at. We're almost done. So I've got pretty much everything set up mounted. The only thing I'm figuring out right now is the airlines. So what I've done since you've seen it, top board I believe is all done, finished up, mounted, ready to go. Compressors are all drilled out and ready to be mounted. All the fittings are on. Now I had to use a bunch of different fittings to try and get the same angle, because on the universal air tank, it has a 1/4 here and a 3/8 fitting here, and it's a 3/8 and then a 1/4 here. So as you can see, I had to add an extra fitting here to equal out to the same on this side. So that was kind of annoying, but we've got the water traps installed. The airline comes from this water trap to our little line holder here, to our other little line holder, and in through the bulkhead fitting. And you can see our big mount here. So this is our acrylic mount that is custom made. I don't believe that they're gonna make any more of them. Don't ask me where I got it. I can't tell you. But it was meant for this or a compressor, but it was to be angled way down. So you can kind of see down inside there, I had to make those little triangles, spacers, so to speak, to angle this upwards where we wanted to see it more. And then also I had to shave this down. So this was way out here, and this was gonna be too bulky, too far forward. So everything's good. So it doesn't actually mount to the tank anywhere. It slips over, has a little bit of a grip design to it, but it is being mounted down below. It's not meant to be, but it is now. So those blocks were made, tapped multiple ways, so it actually gets bolted into this piece and then gets bolted from underneath. Yeah, so pretty much right now I'm just figuring out the front airlines. I'm wanting them to go through this little cover plate, which is right here. So I want the bulkheads to go through there, because then it'll be very easy to remove this whole tub. You'll be able to disconnect the airlines right here in the vehicle over there. Still haven't touched the suspension and everything over there. But it'll be should be easy to disconnect it right here. And then the tank will stay with all the air inside the tank and all that, because these two lines are gonna travel around and have a T and then go in through the bulkhead that way. So you just have to disconnect the airbag lines and should be able to pull it out. Now you'll probably have to have 3 people. Like, this thing is freaking heavy. You got 2 compressors. I think, what do those weigh, like 20 pounds a piece? You got the tank, it's like 43, 45 pounds. The management's like another 6 pounds or something like that. You got a bunch of acrylic that's inside there. Yeah, it's freaking heavy. 2 people can pick it up, no problem, but trying to place it in there, not so easy. So that's gonna be fun for me to figure out. But yeah, a lot of work's been done, a lot of tedious work has been done so far. Right now I'm about 18 hours into building this section so far. Once I figure out the airlines, then we still have to do all the LED wiring, the frosting of all the acrylic, just fine tuning small stuff like that. Still have to do the tank drain kit. We have an electric button for that. And then do all the electrical, like I said, all the fine tuning stuff. Some cool stuff that I did here, I actually got an orange paint marker. So that's pretty neat to go with the whole orange section. Eventually these will be the forged carbon caps and all that. Probably just gonna take off the Viair for now, because this comes off pretty easily. And she has a custom plate, and that's a whole nother mess and fiasco that I have to deal with. Was bought from a company, and it came in and it was this thick, really gaudy, really cheap, didn't work properly. Not gonna say the name of the company, but watch out what you pay for, people. So I'm having to re-engineer and redo this entire plate. The plate was a light up laser engraved plate for 115 bucks. And it lit up, but it was really poorly made. And again, I'm not gonna say the company, but watch out. So yeah, that's where we're at, doing the airline setup right now. I'm gonna give you a little shout out of what I've done after those airlines are done. And then this whole thing gets disassembled to figure out electrical, lighting, frosting, and then finally do the airbags. The easy part. As you can see, everything is taken out of the frunk, and I am doing this really crazy material. It's probably like, we were joking, like quinceañera material for a dress or something. It's just something crazy I found. Shout out to Joanne Fabrics, best place to go. But yeah, so you can't glue this in place because it is completely see-through, and you would see all that. So I am taping everything down, down through the bottom, and then the boards will be on top of it anyways. And then on top, it is being taped in with a seal, where the seal goes. I'm taping it all in up there, so everything will be nice and tight. It'll still be movable. You can see it moves, but this is pretty cool. It's going to reflect a lot of the light and, I don't know, something different. So that is the project there. Everything is done wiring wise for the car. Now the frunk still needs some wiring, but fuse box done. The, like I said, yellow wire goes to underglow and all that. we got our compressor wires and our relay. Compressor wires got their connections on it now. Relay is actually bolted in. All the wiring is zip tied nicely, everything. Other compressor wires. Got our fuses to our main power and also to our ground back there. The fuse box power comes back behind here, and that's to these two. And then everything is ran through there. You see that boot is where everything runs through. It is not just jammed behind it. It is cut holes through it. Everything's good there. You can see that put some nice stainless hardware up here. You won't be able to see it when the hood is down, but at least it's on there strong, and I didn't want water going behind it. So everything is put back together so you can't see anything, of course. But our power is connected back underneath here, has a fuse set up, and it turns on when you sit in the seat. But the cool thing is, like I said, this is all done. You can see the wiring that goes just barely down underneath there a little bit with this bad boy, like that, boom. And then that's got its own. So you can see the management controllers here. Everything's in there tight, it's not moving around. And then this actually has its own little dimmer. So once we put the actual buttons on there, it'll work great. You can see we can turn on, off, that's the underglow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it's got a master on, off. So. All right, so this is pretty crazy looking. From far away, it looks awesome. Up close, we definitely have some issues. You can see where I glossed it right there. There's a gloss spot right here. I did have to cut these out and cut that out, and I'm gonna add a patch to both of them, or all of them. But it's sticking, but not sticking great. So I'm going to put it outside in the sun. It's not super hot out today, but I'm hoping that that helps a little bit to see what's gonna come up or not. Little bubbles are popping up right here already. And there's just not much I can do about it. It's not sticking strong enough as what I thought it would be. But we're gonna leave it, see how things happen in the sun, and then go from there. Also, I'm wrapping the inner edge of her fenders. Really expensive wrap shop wrapped this car and did a half-assed job. They didn't even take out the tub. Like, come on, what? You couldn't wrap an extra inch down there, and then when the tub's in, you wouldn't see it. So I'm wrapping that real quick. Also probably gonna try and talk her into wrapping the root or the hood here underneath the hood. Yes, the car is white, and not a big deal on the door jambs. The doors aren't gonna be open, but when the frunk is there and you're gonna be showing off the frunk, that looks pretty nasty, and it'll add a big touch to it. So hopefully we're gonna do that as well. So the material is actually 2 layers thick now, and when the light puts on it, it's pretty cool. I also got the rubber seal in, had to do a little notch on both parts of the seal because underneath is the LED strips. These are the lighting trends strips. They don't put out a lot of light, specifically because they're very spaced apart like we talked about, but also because the light is facing this way and then not facing down. So, but it actually does give like a little bit of a hue around the edge, which is all we wanted for it, because I don't want that to be the specific light. I've got 7 strips. So we've actually got 7 strips of LEDs down here. This is the newer cob lighting that is way better than the other strips. So these are the individual LEDs like that. And for the same amount of like 1-inch area, you can see like 2, and there's like 10 in here. So this is 730 LEDs per meter, I believe it is. Yeah, per meter. So you're looking at, 730 for 3 feet. It's quite a bit. So there's actually 1, 2, 3. There's another one up underneath there, 4. And then there's 3 underneath this piece right here to light it up. So you'll see that when it's all put in. The bottom board is mounted, so we've got 4 bolts here. And then these bolts right here through the compressor stands go all the way through the tub. I also did some modifications to, to the board underneath there. So there was an acrylic or ABS piece that went all the way across, and when you lit it up, you could see this piece that goes all the way through here. So I just made it into 2 individual spots, mainly under the compressors. So I'll show you that when I light it all up. And like that, it's done. So much light. Yeah, I don't know how well you can see all this. So we've got the strip light up here. This is the lighting trends lights. As you can see, not very bright. Goes all the way around the edge there. I also put 2 up inside the vent. So at least at this angle, you can kind of see them a lot more. But there's 1 here and 1 up here, and you can see it's really just not putting out a lot of light. Now I know it's, of course, light in here, but you should be able to see more than that. We've got the plate here. This was laser etched and partially made by SQ acrylic, and then I cut it all up and remade everything so it's brighter, it's not as thick, but it is still kind of thick. You're looking at a little over 1/2 inch thick right now, but it looks way better than it did before, and it's way brighter than it is before, and I'll show you that. We've got our universal air tank. That's as white as it can get, and then we've got our LEDs down below on both our levels there. So now I'm gonna go through all the different, so you can see the different lights here. Bummer part is everything probably should be on, like a BlueGo system to run all this on there, and we're not there yet. So everything's got a different apps, which I'm not super happy about, but let's see. So we've got, that's a blue, which is blue in person, kind of looks purple on my screen here. Green, red, you can flash through a bunch of different colors. This is our orange, so it looks pretty good with the car. Only downfall, I'm not sure if you can see that, sometimes it does look a little green, because the only way to get orange with this is an RGB tank with non-addressables. So they are trying to get orange is green and red, so you're going to see a little bit of green in there. All right, so then we've got our plate. And so pretty bright there, does all the fun stuff, of course. I've got logged in 65 hours on the car. Not logged, I've got even more because of redoing the fabric 3 times, redoing a couple things here and there with some electrical and the compressor stand, things like that I didn't log, that I'm not charging for because that's my mistake. But yeah, 65 hours.